There you are. Good morning, crew. Welcome back to the Andy Mechanic YouTube channel. It's a glorious sunny morning here near Taupo in New Zealand, or Taupo, as some people pronounce it. Now, give me a chance to get caught up. Let's see if this is going to work. I'll give you a warning now. I had to move the antenna for the internet in the workshop as part of the timber construction stuff that we're doing above the workshop to give it a new second roof to keep the temperature down. And I'm not entirely sure I got it pointing in the right direction exactly. So the internet may not be that good. So let me know what the audio and especially the picture's like, because if I haven't got it right, it's going to be really, pixelated, which is not ideal. And we'll have to get the engineer to come back out and realign it again. There we go. Right, let's see who is in the workshop. Don't want that. Simon Rawl, morning Andy and crew. Good morning, Simon. Welcome back, matey. What's the weather like in the UK at the moment? I hear that there's some pretty cold snaps going on again. Roger Heaps, good morning, Andy and crew. Good morning, Roger. Another regular viewer. And you'll be having fun down in Invercargill with all the Burt Munro bikes flying around, I'm sure. The Giant Governor, good evening, Andy and crew, watching from a very hot South Africa. It's been pretty damned hot here too, to be fair. We've been up on the roof many, many days. Skip ads, thank you. Don't need to do that, thank you. Right, yes, up on the roof for quite a few days over the last few weeks, doing timber stuff. And there's been some very, very hot days. Yeah, I wouldn't say a heat stroke, but we've had to be really careful how long we spend up there. But Mrs. Mechanic has done a fantastic job. We're lifting huge beams, as you can see from the thumbnail. Great fun indeed. She's constantly telling me off. Send some heat to the UK, please. I'll put it in a box, Simon. It's on its way. Jim K, good morning. Good morning, Jim. We haven't spoken for a while. My sincere apologies. I don't think I've missed any of your calls. But I'm flying down to Queenstown this evening, and I'm driving all the way back, so there'll be a couple of days you'll be able to get me on the phone pretty easy. Sheldon, there he is. Audio and picture is good. Thumbs up. Thank you, Sheldon. Appreciate that. Sheldon again. Good morning, Andy and crew. Absolutely. Nelson, geez, Pascual Castro Pola from the Dominican Republic. No idea where that is, actually. Live Life Fully. Hello from Tamworth in England. Hello, Tamworth from New Zealand. Ted McConaughey. Good morning, Andy and crew. Well, good morning, Ted. Hope you're well too. Like I say, it's been an extremely busy time for me and Mrs. Mechanic, really, since before Christmas. We've been flat out at the start doing the workstations, and workstation episode 4, I've not had time to edit it up. I've got probably the last 15 minutes to edit, which is really just a showcase of what we've done. They're both installed, all the timber's done. I've just got the lighting to do on them and the power supplies, but I don't know when that's going to happen. So it may well be I'll just film before I do that. But both of them are brilliant. Very, very impressed. I've been working at Workstation 2 now, doing admin work for the last couple of weeks. And the ergonomics, for me, are brilliant. I can sit there all day long. There was one day I did 12 hours. Sure, I got up now and again, but, it was probably 11 and a half hours of being sat. And when I got up at the end of the day, I did not have a bad back. And that was the critical move. It wasn't about making a fancy new desk. It was about trying to make something which was going to be, better for me. Because I've been suffering some really bad back pain, and it always seemed to correlate from when I've been sat doing admin work for long periods of time. So I am actually very, very pleased how it came out, because, I'm not an ergonomics kind of a guy. I just thought that would work better, and it does. And I can stand up to work whenever I want as well, which I haven't actually done recently, but the option's there if I need it. Plus, they operate really well as like a, a height of a desk, almost like a workbench where you can do other stuff as well and just stand, which is really cool. So it's all come together. Yeah, but a lot of work. So we've done those. They're basically done now. Everything to do with them in the workshop is finished. And then we shifted across to continuing with the workshop roof. And well, I can say that the design has evolved somewhat, and there's a lot more timber gone up there. Our timber stocks are getting critically low at the moment, but I think we'll have just enough to get the whole job finished. Ben's coming down. Oh, when is it? He's coming down on Saturday. So next weekend, Saturday, late afternoon, he should arrive. And we've got Ben here for Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. We're going to be working on the roof. Hopefully we can get it finished. We've still got all the little L brackets to make. There's over 100 of those to make, which is a workshop job. I was hoping to get those done before Ben got here. It's not going to happen. We need those to fit the next load of timber, which is the cross pieces, which the corrugated iron, the steel sheeting, will actually screw down to. So we're pretty close. We are, because it'll be pretty quick doing that work, because we can stand on the old roof. It's not like when we're doing the house port, which is above the deck, which we haven't built yet. We're operating on ladders and stuff, and everything takes a lot longer when you're having to move your ladders around and things. So it will be a lot quicker. And putting the steel sheeting down is pretty quick, especially when there's three of you doing it. It doesn't take too long. But they are 7.5 meters long for those sheets, so it takes a bit of getting up, and it's thicker stuff as well. Hang on. Simon, just back from a 340-mile round trip. Holy crap. Picking up a bike. Wanted one back. Wanted one back since the day I sold mine. What is it? He's thrown out the hook, haven't you, Simon? Connor K, good morning, Andy and crew. Andy and crew. Hope everyone is doing well. I'm doing just fine. I mean, I'm not doing any workshop work today other than the live stream, because I've got to pack up, get changed, and drive to the airport, which happens to be in Auckland, which is like, it's a good 3.5 hour drive. And then wait for an aeroplane to take me down to Queenstown. Sheldon, what do you pick up, Simon? Good question. Calvinator 69, minus 7 degrees here in Alberta. Usually we're sub 40 temperatures this time of year with a few feet of snow. And this year we've had a couple of dustings all winter. Wow. So it's a lot warmer than it normally would be, and a lot less snow. Some places are getting quite a bit of snow, to be fair. Interesting. Simon, Sheldon, XJ 900. Is it a diversion? 1996, had one for years, regretted selling it. Don't you just hate that when you've got that trusty bike that you've had for so long, and then for some reason circumstances change or whatever, or you see another bike and go, "Oh, I quite fancy that," and you swap out and you get the new bike and you go, "Wish I kept the old one." And I did that with my TDR 250. I'd had it just over a year. It was a fantastic bike. It was E-Reg, so what's that, 80, 88, 87, something like that. And I couldn't get a new front tyre for it, so I had to made the terrible mistake. The guy said, "Oh, well, we've got this size, it's the right size, but it's registered as a rear tyre, not rear or front only. You'll have to have that." So we put that on, and I got a tremendously bad speed wobble on the M1. I had Mrs. Mechanic on the back at the time, and it was pretty sketchy. And I really sort of, I don't know, that particular incident made me sort of lose confidence in it. And around a similar time, a Super Tenere 700 came up for sale. And I thought, ooh, quite fancy that. That looks an awesome piece of kit. Had the big Sibby spotlights on the front, all the Paris-Dakar, sort of a protection cage around the front, the little grills and stuff, the big twin headlights. I'll get one of those. And there was one that came up that was within my budget, so I bought it. But Mum said, and Dad, you have to sell your TDR. So, okay, fair enough. We sold that. That sold pretty quick. And the Super Tenere wasn't anywhere near as much fun. The TDR was really quite a rebel bike. It was great fun to ride. It was quick, up to 100 mile an hour, and then it just ran out of steam. But up to 100 mile an hour, man, that thing went like a scalded cat. The Super Tenere, very thirsty on fuel, great as a cruiser bike, you know, to long distance hauls, down to college and stuff in Loughborough, but just nowhere near as much fun. And if you got it stuck off road, good luck getting that thing out. Anyway, so there you go, Simon. Well done. You've got your gem back. You know, I've got a TDR in the shed, but it requires a lot of work, and that's a project for many years down the line. But the fact is, we've got 5 of them now. Ben's got 4, and I've got 1. He keeps rubbing bits off mine, to be fair, but anyway, not to worry. Hopefully there'll be something left when I get around to rebuilding it. Rick H. Don't have time to list, but wanted to jump on and say thank you for what you do. Have a wonderful day, sir. Well, thank you, Rick H. I really appreciate that. I mean, hands up, I've not done any real educational videos, tutorials, you know, for quite some time. I think really the last was the investigation work on the Triumph. And that, just for reference, the Triumph Bonnie series, I believe at this point in time, is going to continue. But I've not heard yet from Alan whether he's got the parts or not. Things have changed a little bit. He wants the rest of the bike taken down to Invercargill, and he wants Stu. He's built up quite a good relationship with Stu down there. You've seen Stu on the video when we inspected all the engine components, gearbox components, and he wants Stu to do the rebuild and put it back together, and get it up to sort of a concourse condition, way more than what I'd sort of signed up for. But the plan is to go down and help Stu do that in his workshop, which will be great because it's nice to work in somebody else's workshop for a while. It's a bit of a different background. And Stu is a great motorcycle engineer. He's got a wealth of experience, especially on those older British bikes, which I don't really have, so I could learn from it as well. So it's all work in progress, but it does hinge on us getting those parts that we need. And we've discovered now there's even more parts that are damaged and have had some really bad repairs on them. So there's even more stuff to buy for it. So the parts bill is going to be massive. But it is work in progress, but it's a long-term project. So I have no idea when we're going to be filming it on that one. Where do we get to? The Giants, are you going to film when Ben is coming next Saturday? Yeah, we might do a video on something. I don't know what. Ben's bought a new Nissan Patrol. It's not new, it's an old one, but it's new to him. And his ute that he was driving at the time when he bought it failed the warrant of fitness. It's had basically the windscreen is starting to delaminate. You know, when you get the plastic between the 2 sheets of glass starts to go opaque. Well, it was starting in the bottom right-hand corner, and they're really strict here in New Zealand, and it had got to a point where it was just too big for the guy to pass it for warrant of fitness, so he failed it. So Ben was without a vehicle, and we'd only just picked his Patrol up a few days earlier, and he said, I'm going to have to come down to Taupo and swap vehicles. So anyway, Mrs. Mechanic jumped in the Patrol, and she met him halfway, which speeded the job up because he was pushed for time. So we've got his ute down here, but he's got the Patrol. So I was going to do a video on his Patrol, you know, take it out and do a few off-road tracks and have a look around underneath and show you around the vehicle. We've not been able to do that yet. So we may do that when he comes down if we have time. But we are very much pushed for time to get the roof done. I need Ben's muscle to help us get the sheets up there and just an extra pair of hands to speed the job up because it's been going on for a while. But maybe. Just maybe we'll do something. I have actually yesterday, he bought some new wheels and tires for it. So yesterday, I've got one of them here because he bought 6. So he has 2 spares, which is important when you do long haul stuff and off-road and things. So I've kept the 6th one with me in the workshop. He's going to collect that when he comes down. But the other 5, he's already got. Now, where do we get to? So I'll show you that when we do a little wander around with the pie and stuff. I'll show you the tires and the wheels he's chosen, and they're monsters. They only just fit on the tire machine. I had to actually fit the tire, the first bead by hand, and then I could put it on the tire machine and do the top bead. That's how big they are. Now then, the real Daz. Morning, Andy and crew. What's the pie? Good segue, waiting for that. The pie is from I Love Pies. We've done one of their pies before, but we've not done very many of them. And it's an Angus beef mince and mozzarella cheese. So basically, mince and cheese, just in a glitzy package. It looks great. It looks really cool. And if presentation's anything to go by as regards packaging, this pie should be absolutely awesome, shouldn't it? A lot of work's gone into the packaging, so they're going to score really high on that. And they've even put the little window in there so you can see what you're buying, which is good. I like that. But we'll chuck it in a minute. Let's catch up with the comments. Tessafun. Oh, that one's gone. Simon, just take Ben's rebuilt one. All your parts, just his labour, lol. Oh, yes. Well, he's got a couple. He's got one that he uses on the road. I'm not sure if it's on the road at the moment. A blue one, which was his daily ride for a couple of years at least, if not longer. And then he's building one at the moment, which he's heavily modifying to make it more of an off-roady type bike, more of an adventure bike rather than a super motard, which is what they were. They were the first production super motard motorcycle ever. And they sold loads of them in Europe. Really good. Pretty awesome. YPVS, 2-cylinder, 2-stroke. Got to be a 2-stroke, right? Kickstart only, proper bike, but it started really easy. There's some videos on it on the channel. Yeah, Justice Lip. Yes, I know. Connor K. Andy, did you get all the lumber required for your project carried home? Your post an image of a load on your trailer. I'm currently, Connor, I'm not going to comment on that other than the fact that, yes, we got home safely. But we've got everything we need to do the roof. It wasn't a problem. The weather was great. And we got home in good time. The traffic wasn't too bad either, to be fair. So we were good there. Right, the pie. Okay, here we go. I love pies. Okay, which is quite correct. I do like my pies. Let's see if we can get in without damaging the box. Oh yeah, here we go. Great. Going in. So it's completely sealed, which is good. So that's actually a really smart move by the pie company, because now the packaging is only cardboard, which means it's going to be recyclable, right? That's really good. I like that. Rather than just, bonding a piece of cellophane over the cardboard, it's going to help also to keep the pie really fresh. So here we go. We're going in. Way. Right. Okay. The pie. Now this is what is it? It's an Angus beef mince and mozzarella by a company called I Love Pies. There you go. Now, obviously, it has got the puff pastry on the top. It's even got a little heart on top of the pie. I mean, come on, people. That's a bit overboard, isn't it? Right. But structurally, it looks very good. The base is absolutely perfect. The sides, I can't see any. We'll just stick that back on there again. Can't see any cracks around the side. But the downside is some of the top pastry is starting to, well, completely separate for some strange reason. But anyway, not to worry. Right, so let's go and stick this in the pie warmer and get this on the way, because Andy's got to get to the airport and I haven't got tons of time today. Here we go. Turn you around. 3, 2, 1. Boom. Right. Oh, legs have gone to sleep already. There we go. Dum, 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 dum. Dum, dum, dum. Good camera work. Keeping it in focus. Look at that. Okay, it's going in. 23 minutes is out of the fridge, so it's 23 minutes is the ideal. It does feel quite a heavy pie, so it might need a bit more. We don't know. Time will tell. Okay, so Ben, look at that. Ben's new tires for his Patrol. Now, to give you some background, Ben's Patrol it's a long wheelbase that's been converted to a ute, and it's got a 50mm body lift and a 50mm spring lift. So there's a lot of room under the arches. And when we ordered the tires, I thought the tires on the ute were 31, 10.5, 15. So we ordered those tires, and they got them some 8-inch wide. So they're 15-inch by 8. So 15 by 8 rim originally is what I ordered. And I sent him the photos, and he goes, "Oh, it's all wrong. You've ordered all the wrong stuff, Dad." And what do you mean? He says it's got 33s on it. So we had to send the tyres back, and we upgraded to 33s. A much greatly increased price, to be fair. And also we had to change the rims from 8-inch wide to 10-inch wide, because they are monster rims. They really are. So that the depth of the rim combined with the huge tyre meant that it was really it was almost impossible to fit them on the tyre machine. That's how bad it was. But I managed to get the base speed, the first speed that goes on by hand using a tyre lever. I had the rim mount of the tyre machine, but I had to sort of manually lever it over, and then we used the tyre machine just to get the second bead put on. So it's a bit of a mission. It took me a couple of hours to do 6, but they came out just fine. So Ben hasn't seen, well, he hasn't seen this one yet. He hasn't seen the other ones because I'm taking him up to Auckland later on today. So when he sees them, I think he'll be absolutely over the moon. And we've got some new wheel nuts to go on there as well. So these are a Maxxis, same brand as on the little Jimny. These are the Razor mud terrains, not the all terrains. We've got the all terrains on the little Jimny, which are 235 75 15s, which are on a 7-inch rim, I think, which is fine for a little Jimny. You don't want to go any wider than that. But they've got the Skypes on the side. Ben was very, very insistent. It has to be mud terrains, Dad, because I want the Skypes because they look cool. And monster treads. And with the mud terrains, you get about twice the depth of tread. So even though mud terrains tend to wear a bit quicker on the road, you've got a lot more tread depth to go at. So in reality, they tend to last sometimes longer than all terrains. But that's a pretty wide tyre, is that? But that's the same size he's got on at the moment. So, you know, it might look big now. And to give you an idea, that's my hand. You know, it's pretty big. I wonder how tall these, well, 33 inches it should be, shouldn't it? Let's have a look. Let's grab the tape measure. Okay, you have to bear with me here because it's not easy with a camera in your hand. So it stands, your camera, about 84 centimeters, 840 mil, and the width is monstrous. This was the killer on the tyre machine. It wasn't so much the diameter, but the width is about 32 centimeters wide, including the sidewall. So there's some serious rubber on there, and they were incredibly expensive. I mean, I think he paid for 6. He paid just over $3,000 for 6. So about $500 is sat just there, and we got discounts on the tires and the rims because we're going to be using the vehicle on the next charity drive in this case that we're going to be doing, which is sort of the Top Gear tribute, whenever the hell that's going to happen. I don't know. Anyway, I fixed some more lights. We've got that one. Hang on a minute. That one we fixed. Not that one, but only one of the tubes is working now. What the hell? Yeah, maybe you can't see that on camera. So one of the tubes has stopped working. Oh well, we got it working anyway. The fuse had gone internally. Other than that, and filling the workshop with sawdust, you know, it feels more like a woodworking shop at the moment than it does a metal workshop. But anyway, this is the angle iron over here that we've got to make those brackets out of. This is 100 by 100 by 6, I think it is. And they've got to be cut into 50 mil lengths. And obviously we'll get as many as we possibly can out of all of it. So the whole lot's going to get cut into 50 mil lengths, and we'll use the ultimate power hacksaw for that. $100 that cost me. Brilliant piece of kit. We'll chop. The biggest thing using the power hacksaw is you've got to make sure that you get a nice straight cut, because sometimes it does tend to wander a little bit. So hopefully I can get it set up right, and it's going to be able to replicate nice square cuts. If not, it's going to be a mammoth session with a slit disc, or in actual fact many slit discs, because there's 6 meters of it there. So, you know, maybe 120, 130 brackets, something like that. Depends on how wide the cut is, doesn't it, really? So, yeah, lots of work to do, but not today. Boom. Yeah, I've got to go down to Queenstown, and I'm driving a vehicle and a trailer back, and I won't be home till Friday night, which is a bit of a pain, but it is what it is. It's got to be done. And then I can get back in the workshop. But we know exactly what we need to do when I get back. We can just crack on As soon as I get a few of them cut, Mrs. Mechanic can start drilling them out. I'll make her a little jig or a template or something. She can start drilling them all out and then clean them up and painting them. We might even, I think we'll chuck them in the cement mixer and do a tumble before she paints them. That means that it's, you know, it doesn't involve humans. You just chuck it in, chuck some garnet in, turn it on, clunky clunk clunk. A couple of hours later, they're good to go and she can paint them. How she's going to paint them, I think she's just brush painting them because, you know, thicker paint, it gives her a thicker layer. One coat, job done. We've got some, I think it's silver, yeah, silver zinc paint, I think it is, that we're using. So that'll work. Where do we get to? Connor K, yes. Tessa from, oh, Richard Perry, morning Andy and crew. Hope all are well. Yes, we're not bad, Richard, actually. Even though we had a long, long day yesterday doing the timber, we actually got caught up. We got done everything we wanted to do yesterday. Very happy. You've seen the thumbnail. All the cross beams are up there now. All the posts are in place. I believe it's strong enough for what we want. It's not going to go anywhere. The original plan was to have less beams going across, and currently there's 10. There was going to be less than that, and then we were going to put center supports down onto the old roof, onto the steel work in here, to give it some strength and to tie it down to the workshop. But now that we've put the additional beams up, I don't think we need to do that. It's going to be plenty strong enough to hold the steel work, and even us clambering around doing the work, it's not going to give. It's going to be fine. So I don't think we need to bother doing that, which is even better. But one of the downsides, with us trompsing around the old roof, doing all the timber work, we've pretty much destroyed the old roof now. It was bad before, but now it's horrific. And maybe I'll do a bit of filming when I'm up there next and just do maybe a Facebook post or something on that, because it's all flattened down, it's curled up, a lot of the nails have come out. We've constantly been pulling nails out and putting Tex screws in, trying to keep the whole thing in place. It was in a terrible state. It really, really was, you know, but it doesn't matter. It's completely irrelevant because it's getting a new roof, which is going to keep the sunshine off and it's going to keep all the rain out of the workshop, because at the moment when it rains, given the state of the current roof, it's horrendous now that we've been walking around on it, you know. Absolutely horrific. Now, where do we get to? Simon, are you going to need spacers for them rims? No, they're a standard offset rim for the Patrol. I did get offered ones with more offset, and I was like, no, we don't need that. You know, all it does is increase bump steer. A lot of the Patrols here, when they do upgrade to these much larger wheels and tire combinations, they go for massive offset, and the spacing or the track of the vehicle from one side to the other is greatly increased. Now, it makes it look cool on the road, I suppose. You know, the stance is a lot more aggressive, but it greatly increases bump steer. You know, you hit a pothole or something, and there's a lot more leverage applied to the steering system, and it pulls the vehicle across the road. And you know, I didn't want that for Ben. And to be fair, like for like, we know they're going to fit, and Ben was happy with that. You know, Ben's pretty sensible when it comes to that kind of stuff. It doesn't matter what it looks like. Is it functional? Does it work? Ben he's also noticed that the front axle needs some new bushes in it. There's a bit of movement on the front axle, which is making the steering a bit wandery at the moment. So there may be a video on that in a few months' time, getting that sorted out for him. Probably going to need it for the warrant, to be fair. But most of his driving sort of not huge distances, which is one of the reasons why he's gone for the mud terrains. You know, and it's in Auckland. You know, he's in traffic. He's not really getting up to highway speeds all the time. So the steering wander's not really a problem at the moment. And at the end of the day, it's an old Patrol. It's never going to handle the same way as a new Ford Ranger, for example. JJ, morning, Andy and crew. Lots of thumbs up. Good morning, JJ. How are you, sir? Igor Zdobrovskis. Good evening, all. Good evening, Igor, and welcome back to the workshop, matey. Sheldon, increased scrub radius is not ideal. Exactly that as well, because when you steer, you know, it doesn't sort of roll the tire around. It sort of drags it round. And plus as well, you've got a lot more throw with the tire, so there's a lot more chance basically, catching bodywork and stuff. So we could have opened a whole can of worms by going for the different offset rims. So don't want that. Not good. Not good at all. Yeah. So what else is coming up? I haven't got anything scheduled at the moment for filming. All my other projects are all currently on hold. I just have to get the workshop roof finished. But once that's done, and I'm hoping that by the time Ben leaves, it will be done. It's a big ask because he won't be here till the Saturday afternoon, so 3 days. He's going to still be around the following weekend, but he wants to go off-roading. He wants to go and do some, take his patrol, and I'll take the Jimny, and Mrs. Mechanic will take the little Larry the Carry, all four-wheel drives. He wants to go off for a couple of days, which would be cool. Really cool. I don't know where we're going to go yet, but it'd be cool. It might just be 2 separate one-day trips, just different directions. But Mrs. Mechanic's going to have a look at the maps and see where we can go, what we can do. But yeah, be a good laugh. And we've got CB radio communication and stuff. We might do some filming as well. Might film that. That might be cool. Like a pre-expedition shakedown kind of thing. See how we get on. Yeah, it'd be a laugh. It really will. So tell me how your week's been, because I'm always telling you how my week's been, and I know that's one of the reasons why you tune in. It's not to watch me smoke cigarettes, that's for sure. Which is a terrible, terrible habit, and I would strongly recommend that nobody ever does that, because A, it destroys your bank account, and B, it's not very good for you. That's probably the wrong way around. It's not very good for you is the most important thing, and secondly, it destroys your bank account. Oh, man. So knackered at the moment. Really. I think it's going to catch up with me. When I get on that plane this afternoon, I'm going to fall asleep. I know I am. I was really tired last night, but I did get a good night's kip, which was nice. So anyway, all the tyres are loaded up, and they're going up to Auckland with me when I go to the airport. So I'm going to meet Ben at the airport, and he's going to grab his wheels and tyres and get them put on. He's got to get them balanced. I can't balance those here. Don't have a wheel balancer. I used to have one in the UK. Really good one, actually. It was a Balco. Same as the tyre machine that I had. And it was one with electric motor. It wasn't the old school ones that you had to spin by hand. It was a good one. And talking of balancing, actually, we used to have a supplier, I think they're still in business, called Bond International in the UK. A guy called Richard Croft was the marketing manager there. And I built up quite a good relationship. Either marketing or sales, can't remember which, or maybe both, who knows. Built up quite a good working relationship with Richard over the years when I was in the UK. And that company sponsored our off-road driving centre. They were really, really good to us. And in the first few years, they used to give us wheels and tyres to go on the four-wheel drives, which was nice. It was a huge saving on cost. And I was telling Mrs. Mechanic the other day, actually, Richard contacted me and he says, hey, look, we're going to stop doing wheels. And they were the American racing rims, which were a really good quality wheel. And I'd sort of noticed that their supply was a bit hit and miss sometimes. I'd ring up to order a set of rims for a customer, and they maybe didn't have any stock, or they only had 3 or 2 of those rims left. And Richard said, hey, we're going to stop doing rims. We're just going to focus on tyres. Would you like to buy our stock? And I was like, really? You've got hundreds and hundreds of rims. I can't afford that. I says, I've just started my off-road business, off-road centre, cash flow's pretty tight. He says, no, get yourself down. We'll see you right. So I went down. And this is years and years ago. This would be about 1996, maybe 1997, somewhere around about there. So we're like 3 years into running the business. And he took me into the warehouse where they stored all these wheels, and they had, I think, 3 or 4 huge warehouses, and one of them was just for wheels. And it was pretty empty. There was just, small stacks and clumps of rims. And but they were all out of order. They weren't really categorized. So he didn't really know what he had. He says, look, this is what we've got. Make me an offer. And I was like, oh, I need to know what you have. So he agreed to let me go in for a couple of days and sort them all out and work out exactly what I was potentially buying. So I made up a number of sets because you can only sell sets. Any oddball rims are really just a waste of money, really. But he said you have to buy all of them. There's no option. Either you take all of them or you don't take any of them. We do a deal for the lot. So I worked out exactly what I had, made a list, and there were literally hundreds and hundreds of these wheels. Some of them were white steel wheels, some were chrome steel, and some were alloy wheels, all American racing. And they all came in the boxes with the wheel nuts and everything. There was all the little center caps. It was pretty cool. And we sat down, and he said, "Well, what are they worth?" And I said, "Oh, Richard, I said, even if I gave you £10 a rim, which was a fraction of what the retail value was, it was still way out of my budget." And he says, "Look, we need to get them gone. What do you think they're worth as scrap value?" And I was like, "I don't know. £1 each for the steel wheels and £1.50 for the alloy." I felt really embarrassed saying that kind of price about the wheels. And he says, "Well, I'll tell you what. We'll do the white steelies at 50p each." And that was like, really? We'll do the chrome steelies at £1, and we'll do the alloy wheels at £1.50. Will that work? So I'm busy working out the sums, and I'm like, "Yeah, we can make that work." I says, "But I can't pay you straight away." He says, No problem. We'll give you 90 days on it, but they have to be gone by the end of next week." So then there was a mad rush, because it was from his warehouse up to where our workshops was with a trailer about an hour and a quarter, maybe an hour and a half drive time each way. And there was going to be a lot of loads. So I remember the first load that I did, I used our car trailer, and I just laid them all in, and it was pretty heavy, but it was only one, maybe two wheels deep. I couldn't stack them too high because, the trailer's open. I did a load with that, and it hardly made an impact on the stack that I had to move. So I borrowed a mate's horse trailer, or horse float, they call it in New Zealand, twin axle, and I loaded it to the gunnels. It must have been massively overweight, and dragged that back up to the farm. Probably did 4 or 5 runs like that, and probably over 100 rims per load, something in that region. And plus, I filled up the car and everything, the 4-wheel drive, and we were driving a Patrol, I think, at the time. Oh no, a Charlie truck, actually, it would have been. So it would be a Daihatsu F55 pickup truck. So the back of the pickup was all filled with rims as well. So I was running way, way overweight. But, you couldn't see what was in the horse trailer. So Mr. Policeman was fine. And we got them all back, and we were putting them in a barn. And we actually filled the barn. You could hardly walk through the barn. And we had a time machine and wheel bouncer in the same building. But even getting to the time machine for the first couple of weeks was hard work. But we sold all of them. Every single one of those rims went out the door. And we did wheel and tyre combinations, just as in the same way that Bond International did. And we did actually really well out of it. Richard really helped us out with that. So, if you ever watch this, Richard, thank you very much. I'll never forget that. It was extremely generous, and he gave me first options. He didn't just flick them out to the industry at a discount. He was obviously thinking about helping me out, which was nice. But yeah, great wheels. And there's probably still some of those rims driving around the Scarborough and Pickering area as this goes out on air. They were great. One word, flat out. Route 66 music. Oh my word. Pas de fumée, Andy. Well, fumée is smoke. Pare. French. What's that? It's definitely French, isn't it? I think. With a dirt in it. Let's see what that stands for. French to English. Prepared, all set, ready to smoke. Tessifun. Hello, Andy. As always, I would like to thank you for all your efforts to help us. I'm from Eastern Africa. Far from your country. I'm happy about that. Have a question. How can I start my spare part business? Spare parts. So, are we talking second-hand spare parts, or are we talking new spare parts? If you're looking at setting up almost what they call a wreckers or a scrapyard, where you're selling second-hand car parts, then really you want to focus on the fast-moving stuff, the stuff that's in demand to get you going. I used to sell quite a lot of second-hand parts for the little Suzuki SJ 410s and 413s and the Samurais, because they originally were the vehicles we ran on our fleet, and there wouldn't be a week go by where we weren't dragging a dead vehicle in that we'd bought for spares. I used to travel all over the UK with the car trailer collecting those vehicles, and we usually got them for about £100 each. And most of them, when you go and pick them up mechanically, they'd be absolutely mint. It would be the corrosion, the rust on the sills. The chassis were always good. It was just the sills and around the headlight area on the front wings, and the wheel arches, the rear wheel arches used to go, the back doors used to go, windscreen surrounds as well on the soft tops. They used to really rust out. You could buy an aftermarket one, and we used to, quite a lot of those vehicles we'd fix up if they weren't too far gone and put them on the fleet, and they'd go out and hire, on hire, and earn us some money working around the forest until something major went wrong with them, or maybe they got crashed, and then we'd strip them for parts. But we used to sell engines and gearboxes and transfer boxes and lots of prop shafts. I used to recondition a lot of prop shafts, fit new universal joints. I used to rebuild the transfer boxes, diffs, sold loads of diffs and complete axles. And we also did a rear disc conversion, because there were drum brakes standard. And we developed a kit that you could bolt on, which allowed you to use the front, another set of front calipers and discs on the rear axle. Massively improved the brakes performance, but also a lot more resilient to off-roading. When you have a drum brake and it fills with mud, it turns into like a little cement mixer, and it just turns the friction material on the shoes to like a paste, and they don't last very long at all. But when you go to disc brakes, they're sort of self-cleaning to some extent, and the customers used to love them. They were really, really good. There was also a safety feature to them as well, where with the design of the standard axle, the rear wheel bearing was just a single ball bearing race, 6207 RS. It was 6207 2RS was the part number. And if that bearing completely failed and collapsed, the half shaft and the drum and the wheel would separate from the axle. It would come out of the axle. I actually had that happen to me once while I was driving. But once we converted the disc brakes, the caliper, which was going around the disc, held everything in place. Sure, it wasn't ideal, and but from a safety perspective, it stopped the wheel exiting vehicle, which was a real bonus. And we sold lots and lots of those kits. Sometimes just a kit, or sometimes a customer would order a complete axle. He'd tell us what vehicle he's got, whether it's a 410, 413, or a Samurai, which were the wider 413s. And I would then build them up a rear axle from scratch. It'd all get painted. I'd weld on all the lugs and stuff for the brake lines, make up all the brake pipes, put the flexes on there, and fit the kit. So it looked really cool. And then we'd pack the axle up in cardboard and bubble wrap and ship it out. And I did loads of those, absolutely loads. Shouldn't have done as many as I did, really, because we sort of used up our stock of axles. But you just do what you need to do to make the money, right? And they were very successful. We probably sold over 200 kits in the UK. And they made a massive difference or reduction in running costs for our fleet vehicles when we ran Suzuki's. When we switched to Nissan Patrols, we found that the rear drums were a lot more resilient to dirt ingress, so we didn't have to do it. It worked pretty well. And in actual fact, near the end, you're going to laugh at this, towards the end, we actually deleted the rear brakes on the Nissan Patrols. We did, because when they were in use in the forest, we had them, they were locked in four-wheel drive low. So the front brakes, when you're in four-wheel drive, when you braked on the front, the braking force was also applied to the rear wheels. Now, sure, it was through the diff and it was an open diff, and it could, under some circumstances, cause one wheel at the rear to rotate the opposite direction and affect the handling of the vehicle. But the vehicles were limited to sort of walking speed. You know, the customers weren't allowed to drive fast in them. So within that kind of working environment, it worked really well. And we saved a lot of money on, on running costs for those machines. Where do we get to? Sheldon, busy here fixing various issues with bikes and ATVs and ROVs. People want some performance fabrication done as well. Fabrication's always fun. You do a great job, Sheldon. And I am, like I say, I'm coming down to Queenstown this evening, and I'll be driving my way back first thing Tuesday morning. I've got some training to do on the Monday in Cromwell. And then I'll be coming across to you. So I will see you on Tuesday night. So keep that date free. There'll be a pint for you, for sure. And Jamie, if he's around, I'm not sure if he's away or not still. Now then, where do we get to? Simon, you never do forget the older business that gave you that leg up, or businesses that gave you the leg up when you just started out. It was great. I mean, there was another company in York that did all sign writing and the vinyl stickers and stuff, the sign writing for cars. And I'd known the guy for a while, and I said, look, I'm starting this off-road centre. I need some stickers to go on the Jeeps. Can you help me? And he did. He made them all, and he didn't charge me. He said, no, good luck. I know you'll be back. Good luck. And he made me all. I mean, I fitted them, with the little plasticky squidgy thing and spray and put them all on, and I got pretty good at doing that. But he printed them all off and said, look, there's enough there for, I don't know, 10 vehicles, one on the bonnet and then one for each door, so 3 per vehicle. And so he made, I don't know, 30, maybe ran me off 30 odd of these things, and he said, they're on me, good luck. Your dad's given us lots of business over the years with his garage, happy to help you out and give you a leg up. And it was fantastic. He even made me, actually, some on magnetic backings as well. Because we used to, when we first started out, we used to hire in other vehicles that instructors had. So we'd use their vehicle for the day and pay them for the use of their vehicle as well. And they would stick on the magnetic logo on the side of the truck. So it worked really well, actually. And, these kind of people, salt of the earth, just helping you out. And it was without their help, I never got started. It was such a struggle. I'd just finished college. I was absolutely penniless. I had no money at all. All the money I had was spent on buying a couple of little Jeeps. And one of the things that got us going, that really gave us a kickstart, is we had a guy called Alan Kidd, who was a reporter for Off-Road and Four-Wheel Drive magazine in the UK. And he rang us up and he came out for the day and did a wonderful article. And I've got it framed in the house because it really sort of marks the real start of the business that we had. And he gave us a wonderful write-up, and we got a lot of business from that. It was really, really cool. So again, thank you very much. I mean, sometimes reporters, they can be very negative when they come down to your site and they try and pick fault and things, but it wasn't. It was all very, very proactive, very helpful. And then we got a listing in the back of the magazine where people could, and that was there every month, where they were looking for somewhere to go off-roading, and they'd look down the listing and they'd see our site and give us a call. And we did really well out of it. It was good. Sheldon, looking like I have a Barracuda Mark II to build as well. They're an off-road race buggy. We'll be using a Hayabusa 1300cc engine. Well, Sheldon, I'm looking forward to seeing that. That sounds absolutely brilliant. And what a project to have as well. You need to involve me in that, I think. Machine NZ, Kevin, morning, Andy and crew. Good morning, Kevin, and welcome back to my very messy workshop at the moment. Simon, that sounds like fun, Sheldon. It sure does. The real Daz, pie's ready. It is. Let's go and get the pie. Turning around, 3, 2, 1, boom. Oh, okay. My right leg has completely gone to sleep. Oh my word, jeez, it has. If I collapse on the floor, you'll know why. Oh God. Right, let's have a look. Right, structural integrity Has it survived? Oh, it has. It's a bit flaky there. And we've got a bit of movement. Oh, there's a big crack on the top. Look at that. Right, we'll close that and keep Mr. Ratty out. Oh, legs woken up. That's good. Right, we'll stick it on the box because I haven't cleaned the bench, so we've got to be very careful how we do this. Because I know, I've come across signs of Mr. Ratty again. I think they're old signs, not current signs, but you know, got to be careful because rats are not very nice, and they cause you problems, don't they? Okay, so the pie. Now we've been going. Where are we? 50 minutes. Mrs. Mechanic said, "Don't make it a long live stream, Andy, because we've got to get to Auckland." Okay, right. The pie. Dum 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 dum. I've still got a pack yet as well. Dum 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 dum. Now, the base actually looks pretty structurally integral, doesn't it? It's not been compromised at all by thermal expansion or contraction. I don't know whether the pastry contracts when it heats up, but we have got a whacking great crack down the top. Okay, so without further ado, I'm just going to eat this bit off the top. So, pastry. Oh, I've got about half of it. Pretty brittle. Okay. Yes, we've got quite a big crack just there, look. So, for those that have just joined us, it is a I Love Pies Angus beef mince and mozzarella. I like mozzarella. It says here, no palm oil, no added MSG or preservatives, no artificial flavors or colors. It's got a very happy chap on the front, look. Pastries made with New Zealand butter as well. Prime Angus, 100% New Zealand beef, made with our delicious sour cream pastry. Wow. Tasty Angus beef mince, cracked black pepper, and vegetables. Well, it's got vegetable in it. Topped with mozzarella cheese. Wow, it sounds quite a pie, to be fair, doesn't it? I think Mrs. Mechanic has treated me enormously with this one. Okay, here we go. That's pretty tasty. Even that was only pastry. That's pretty tasty. It's teasing me because I can see the insides, the contents, but I've not had any yet. There you go. Just see them poking out down there. Oh. Even the pastry tastes really nice. Not bland at all. And it's not heavily flavored. It's just, I think it's the butter, right? You can taste it in the pastry. It's almost like creamy. It's weird. It's going to be really hot, actually. I can feel it now. Wow. Jacob Vaughan, what were your thoughts on Irvin's Pies shutting down? I think it's terrible. I really do. I mean, was it 90 people lost their jobs between the two factories? It was Irvin's and Mackenzie Pies, both made in the same factory. And there were two factories. There was one in, was it Oamaru, Sheldon? Somewhere around your area. And there was another one in Auckland. And the mother company was Australian, and they just decided to shut it down and potentially just ship the pies from Australia, which pretty standard these days, isn't it? You know, bringing everything back home and just relying on transport to get the goods into your existing market. You know, we've learned nothing from COVID. You know, countries need to be more self-supporting and have their own, you know, infrastructure for production of goods and so on, rather than just chucking it in a container or on a plane and shipping it over here. Well, led by the accountants, no doubt. Look at that. You see the cheese down there, look. Very, very tasty. And there is some vegetables in it, which is really weird. I don't normally like pies or vegetables, but there's like a little carrot just hiding in the middle there, look. Sheldon, by we, does that mean Mrs. Mechanic is travelling down with you too? I hope so. She isn't. It was probably the royal we. No, I'm on my own, Sheldon. I'm flying down on my own. Mrs. Mechanic's got to stay at home and look after Team Marmite. Yeah, be nice to have had some company on the trip, but it's just not possible, to be fair. I'm going to pop and see Eloise when I'm in Queenstown. Don't think it'll be tonight. Probably tomorrow night I'll go and see her. I've got a few things that I'm taking down for her. She was mountain climbing at the weekend. She did this massive great mountain. Which one was it? We find out. She put it on a message to me. Where did she go? The family. Mount Armstrong. She climbed up 2,174 meters. Unbelievable. Absolutely amazing. Very proud of her, to be fair. Although it does worry me that she took a photo at the summit of the sun going down, of the sunset. And I'm thinking, shouldn't you be pretty much off the mountain by that time of day? You know, it's going to be getting dark. Surely you didn't stay up there until sunset. So, I don't know. Don't know how she took that photo. I'll be asking her questions. Right. It's falling apart. But it is only the puff pastry off the top. So it's not structurally a problem. Not yet. Wow. It's like raining pastry. That's better. Okay, need a pen. Boom. There we go. I did sweep down the bench, so I'm sure that by eating the pastry off the bench, I'll be all right. Taste, stroke, flavour. And this is of the contents. Wow. It's very tasty. It really, really is. And there's another little carrot there, look, just hanging in there. So, don't normally like vegetables in pies, but, you know, the rest of the flavouring is so good, it's fine. Can't stop eating it. Super tasty. Oh, there's a pea. See, I'm not a fan of peas either. Look that up. A pea hiding in the top. Okay. So, structure falling apart. Let's just jump to that one for now. To be fair, it is falling apart. There's a lot of puff pastry falling off it, so it's not going to get full marks. The base is very thin and it's quite soft, so it's definitely a two-handed pie for sure. I'm going to give it a 7 actually at the moment. Now that might change as things go. It might get worse. I'm really having to sort of plan where I'm about to put the next bite. The flavour of the contents, like I said before, it is super tasty. The cheese is really nice. The meat tastes wholesome, you know, there's good flavour to the meat. I'm going to give it, despite the vegetables, I'm going to give it a 9. I think it's really good. That score, it might go up to a 10. We'll see how things pan out. Runnability test. Now, this could be a pie-tastrophe, to be fair, because it does seem to be quite fluid, does the contents. So, whoa, I can't do it. Look at this. Can you see it oozing out? I hold it dead still. We're miles away from 45 degrees as well, so that's a fail. So it's pretty bad. It's only going to get, I mean, it's not flowing out of the pie unless, you know, even if you hold it flat, it would take quite some time to ooze out. There is some very slight movement. So it's not a complete fail, but it's pretty bad. I'm going to give it a 3, I think. Okay, meat quality. Well, like I said before, it tastes really good. And I've not had any gristly bits yet. So, and it is, as they say, Angus beef, and it's prime Angus New Zealand beef. So, I'm going to give it a 9 for that. Now we've got to score it knowing it's mince, because it says it's a mince pie on the box. I can't just say, oh, it's not like steak, you know. So it's got to be comparative. Pie to crust ratio. Well, the pastry is very thin on the base. In fact, you can see the two colours. You can see the cooked colour, the lower bit, the brown bit, and then you can see the bit that isn't quite as burnt above it. It's probably in total about 5 mil thick. There's a very distinct change in pastry. So it's weird, actually. It's a very distinct line there. Look, you can see it. So the sides are not too bad. The right-hand side to me is, which is this side, is a lot chunkier than the left side. The top's pretty thin. Does seem to be quite a lot of contents, and it's quite a heavy pie. And that's not because of the pastry, I don't think. So we'll give them a pretty good score for that, I reckon. It's delivering quite a good volume of contents. I think it should maybe get an 8. 8 or a 7? No, we'll give it an 8. I think an 8. Availability logistics. Well, it's not often you come across these pies, to be fair. It's the kind of pie that you wouldn't get from a dairy. I'm pretty sure this came from a supermarket. It did. It came from a supermarket. It came from a Countdown supermarket. I think they're a bit posh for dairies, in all honesty. Plus, a dairy pie, you want it out of the warmer, you know, so you can eat it straight away. That's the main reason why you go to a dairy for a pie. Or a petrol station, you know. It's, I need a pie now, kind of thing. So you can buy them online because they're from a supermarket. So what do we give them? 5, maybe a 6. There's a lot of Countdown supermarkets around, so let's give them a 6. But it's not really a pie for your regular sort of pie shops. So all of those we can't include. You can buy it online. Pastry taste rating. Well, I said earlier on, it is super tasty. I'm going to steal the heart off the top. That'd be a perfect bit for pastry taste. Definitely taste the butter in there. Simon Roll. The UK has lost its last steelwork. Oh, really? Lost its last steelworks that can make raw steel from iron ore. Wow. So we're going to have to import the raw materials then. Or, you know. That's terrible, Simon. That's really, really bad. Again, just reliant on the movement or shipping of raw materials. That's really bad. We're going the wrong way. We really are. Okay. Pastry taste rate. Pretty damn good. I'm going to give them an 8. I'm quite impressed. Because it's not crappy pastry that they've tried to hide with some kind of sprinkling of something on the top. There wasn't anything on the top. It's just pure pastry, and it tastes nice. Still tasty when cold. Maybe. I mean, I'm not a fan of cold vegetables, but the amount of vegetables in it is tiny. It's just a sprinkling. It's the odd one here and there. It's not like they've filled the pie up with vegetables to try and save money on meat. It's so limited that I don't think that's the case. It is a pie, though, because it's so fluid. It's a pie that you've got to keep eating because more of the content ooze out. And you don't want to lose any of it because it tastes nice. So you do get this sense of urgency to crack on and eat it. Would it still be tasty when cold? Well, it's got that really tasty cheese in it. The meat's nice, really nice. It's not full of, I could find a lot of pies. It's not full of lots and lots of gloopy gravy, you know, which has got massive amounts of flavouring in it. It's just meat, you know. It's actually a pretty good quality pie. Is it still tasty when cold? I think it won't be too bad. I'm going to give it a 7. No, I'll give it a 6, actually. I think a 6 because of the vegetables. Not that you can really taste them, but that and the fact it's mince. Yeah, I think a 6. Now, packaging design. Amazing. It really, really is. You know, it's a nice sturdy box. It protects the pie, stops it getting squashed. And we've seen quite a lot of damage on the pies that we get that are just in a bag, you know, through transport, getting them home. They get crushed by the other shopping. you know, your bottles of wine, all that kind of stuff from Mrs. Mechanic. Squashes me pies. Whereas with this, it's quite a sturdy little box. It's only cardboard. It's got the little bag inside, keeping the pie nice and fresh. And it's got the window where you can actually see the pie that you're buying, which is really nice. It's a good little touch, is that? Because you're always a bit dubious, aren't you? It's nice to see what you're buying. And there's a lot of information on the back. You know, they're giving you all how to cook it, how to store it. It tells you all the ingredients, nutritional information. And it's a quite a fun packet. The way that it's written, you know, it's quite interesting and funny the way that they've done it. So they've taken a lot of time to get the wording right. Yeah, I like it. I do. I think they've done a great job with that. I'm going to give them a 10. I don't think you could really better that. I think it's got it ticks all the boxes for me as regards excellent packaging. I mean, sure, you're paying for it, right? You know, this is not a cheap pie. Recyclable score. Well, this is cardboard and only cardboard, so it is fully recyclable. In fact, they've even told us on the carton there, look, carton only is fully recyclable. And for the film, which is obviously the little bag, that has to go in the bin. So they're going to lose a point for that, but I think they should get 9. We'll get 9 for that, because they've told us what we need to do with each piece as well. So they're doing the best for us to look after the environment. Nice. Now, post-pie heartburn. There's no additives in this pie. And so far, no reflux whatsoever, no burps. I feel just fine. At this point in time, they get a 10. Now, of course, as our little pieology survey thing progresses, there might be the odd burp, in which case it'll lose points. By the way, it's a 200-gram pie, so it's exactly the size that we would expect. It's sort of the average size. Any bigger than that, and it becomes quite a bit of a breakfast. There you go. The last bits. So all the way through, this pie's done a great job. I mean, yes, there is a lot of flaky pastry. What do we give them for structure? We gave them a 7. I might knock it down to a 6. You can just taste the vegetables. You can just get the odd little tinge of carrot and the odd little tinge of pea in there, which is a bit of a weird taste to me because, you know, I don't do vegetables in pies, but it wasn't anywhere near overpowering. It wasn't detracting from the nice flavouring of the meat and the pastry. So I think really I have to just accept it. It's the way it is. Stuffability score. Am I still hungry? I am not. It's done a great job. Am I overstuffed? Do I feel lethargic and don't want to do any manual work? If I'm being honest, maybe a little bit. I'm going to give them a 9. I don't think they've quite hit the nail on the head. I mean, you know, it is a personal preference. That pie to me was it was probably a couple of mouthfuls too much as a morning snack. If it was a lunchtime thing, yeah, no problem at all. But it depends when you're going to eat it as well. So I think a 9 for me is comparative to the other pies that we've done. Now, pie server attractiveness. Countdown usually never fails to please. This would have been Countdown in Tokoroa. So, yeah, the customer service in Tokoroa is not the greatest, to be fair. Not through my experience. I mean, I wasn't there when Mrs. Mechanic bought this pie. She hasn't told me a score of the actual server, but so all I can do is base this on my general experience of going to that particular store. I think a 6 is fair. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. All the scores are in, which means we've got some arithmetic to do. Okay, turn you around, 3, 2, 1, boom. Okay, here we go. Dum, 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 dum. Panning down. There we go. Okay, so we've got, can you see all the scores? I think you can. Please add them up with me. If I get the number wrong, let me know. So, 16, 19, 28, 36, 42, 50, 56, 66, 75, 85, 94, 100, a straight 100. Wow, look at that. That's not bad. Come on, pen. I think the pen's died. There we are. A score of 100. I need to get some new pens. Score of 100. That's pretty damn respectable. Respectable, to be fair. So, we'll have to check to see what the other one got, actually, because there is one more on the board that we've already done. So, I love pies. And it was an Angus beef mince. Oh god, I've got this bit mozzarella. Okay, it got 100. I'm going to put on there very tasty pastry. Bit for the party. For the party is probably not a word or two words. Dash. There we are, look. Okay, I like to make up words. Right, let's go and get this slapped on the board and see where we end up. Obviously, a very high scoring pie, and so it should be, given the, the indication by the packaging. And like I say, it's not one of the cheap pies, but pies have got expensive. I mean, to give you an idea, where's my go-to pie? Wellbeing Cafe Classic Steak, Wellbeing Cafe Gourmet Steak and Cheese. That's my go-to pie when I'm on the road. 103. Those pies now are $6.50, $6.40. They're about $1 more than they used to be. So quite a bit of money going on there. Right, oh, we've got a gap already. So, Isle of Pies, Angus beef, mince and mozzarella got a whopping 100 out of a potential 130. Bearing in mind that the highest score on the board is 106. That is excellent. Now, where's the other Isle of Pies? Mrs. Mechanic spotted. Oh, here we are, look. So, they're a bit dusty. Sorry, we've been spraying and grinding and things. Isle of Pies, Angus steak and ale got 89. So that didn't score quite so high. So maybe they've changed the packaging. I don't know. Maybe we didn't buy it from a supermarket, that one. But still a reasonably good score. Not too bad. It's on the main door, so we're doing all right. But hey, haven't we eaten some pies now? I might need to get some bigger shirts soon. Yes, and if you see any on this side, you don't buy those. They are not really very good, to be fair. Okay, back to the bench. Turn you around, 3, 2, 1, boom. Okay, we're getting close. What are we on? 1 hour 13. Mrs. Mechanic is going to be grumbling at me any minute now. Come on, you've got to get ready to get to the airport. I've still got loads of coffee to drink. Right, so we'll get rid of that. See, no burps. That was quite a nice pie. It was quite refreshing. It was refreshingly different, is what I would probably say. Not really what I was expecting. Seeing vegetables in a steak and cheese pie. Oh, sorry, mince and cheese pie. But flavoursome. It was actually quite nice. And it's probably the kind of pie, actually, given its density, and the fact that I was a little bit overfull by the end of it, for a morning pie. Probably worked quite well as an evening pie with some nice boiled potatoes and a few more veggies with it. Maybe a bit of gravy as well. It would actually be the core part of an evening meal. It's that good. You should try that. If you're in New Zealand and you can get one of those, you should try doing that. Where do we get to? Bum, bum, bum. Oh, yes, the steelworks. That is really sad, actually, Simon. Really sad. Jacob Vaughan. Do you have any tips for identifying a weak spark? I spent weeks troubleshooting a severe misfire on one cylinder on a Ninja 250 caused by a dodgy wire on the coil. Well, a weak spark's usually pretty easy to identify that you've got a weak spark. When you're testing a spark's strength or the actual, it's an indication of the voltage of the spark. It should be able to jump about 6 millimeters or more in atmosphere. So, when I was a kid and I had problems with a little Honda C50 go-kart engine, I'd take the spark plug out and I'd rest it on the cylinder head and I'd kick the kickstart and I'd see if there was a spark. And there was, or there wasn't, who knows. But when there was, I made the assumption that if it can spark at the spark plug, it should be able to spark in the cylinder. And that's not the case, because the gap on the spark plug is usually, a millimeter or less. And it takes a lot lower voltage to jump that small gap in atmosphere. But when it's in the cylinder, it's under pressure and it needs a much higher voltage to jump the same gap. So you should be checking about a 6 mil gap to jump in atmosphere would indicate a strong enough spark to actually create a spark, or high enough voltage to create a spark in the cylinder under compression. So if you've got a weak spark, then there's a couple of things you need to check, and it could be, like you say, a wiring issue. It could be a bad earth. There could be the kind of coil that grounds through the bolts to the frame, rather than having a dedicated earth wire. Maybe they've got a bit corroded. It could be that the coil's weak. It's got an internal fault. It could be that your HT lead that runs from the coil down to the spark plug, is leaking somewhere. If that's the case, you can spray it down with some water out of one of those little plant sprayers, and you'll hear this where it's jumping to ground, and it's not sparking in the cylinder. And you can get that sometimes where once the spark plug's been put back in the cylinder and it's trying to spark under compression, it's at that point that the HT lead, then the insulation on it is just bad enough for the current, the spark, to jump to ground through the HT lead or through the plug cap. But when you're testing it out in the atmosphere with the spark plug, it's easier for it to jump the plug gap than it is to break through the insulation. You know what I mean? So a little trick is to look around the car on a night time, or if you're in the workshop, turn all the lights out with the engine running, and often you'll see the little, where it's leaking, you'll see the spark jumping across from the HT lead or the plug cap down to ground. But if you spray it with water, that usually sort of brings it out, and it's easy to see, because it's easier for it to jump because of the water being there. So yeah, or it could just be a dodgy spark plug. So just swap the plugs around, and see if the problem changes cylinders. I had a bike a couple of years ago, which was exactly that. It was just a faulty spark plug. It was a twin cylinder engine, and it turned out it wouldn't idle if only one cylinder was firing. I went out, I was chasing, I thought, maybe it's fuel pressure, because it's a fuel injected bike. Maybe it's fuel pressure. What am I missing? And it turned out to be a faulty spark plug. And believe it or not, it wasn't that easy to find. I was going down this whole fuel. I had the scope out. I had all sorts going on, thinking it was something serious. It was quite a new vehicle. It just gone for its first service, and then it developed this engine stall problem. And I'm thinking, well, why is it stalling out? If it was a cylinder issue, just one cylinder, surely it would just, the idle RPM would just drop a little bit and it would just struggle on one cylinder. But on that particular bike, wouldn't do it. If you lost one cylinder, the engine would shut down. It just didn't have enough oomph to keep going. The crankshaft RPM would probably drop just below the minimum rotational sort of threshold that the ECU is prepared to accept, and it would just turn off the fuel and the engine would stall. There's a lot of mopeds like that as well. Well, the engine has to be above a certain RPM, otherwise the ECU just turns them off. Where we get to? Simon, here we go. Jacob Vaughan, a spark gap tester. Yes. Or a test light on the engine and use that as the earth. That's right, you can pull it back and, see how far back you can pull it. A good spark should be able to jump a good 20 millimeters or more. 20 mil is a pretty awesome spark. I think all the manuals say about 6 mil, but yeah, if you can jump 20 mil, you haven't got a problem with a weak spark. The real Daz, Patrick's Pies in Tauranga seem to be the best. Next time you're in the area, do me a review. Okay, so hang on, I've got to take a picture of that, otherwise I will forget. Patrick Pies, I will find them. Where is he? There he is. Okay, Sheldon, Jacob, an oscilloscope is the best way to trace ignition faults in my opinion, but not many places have them these days. Probably a smart scope. Andy has one, but not many dealers do. It's exactly right. It's a real problem. I mean, they are very good for the traditional kind of checks. And if you want to learn more about that, then check out Ivan's YouTube channel. He's or Eric. I see Eric O at South Main Auto. Both extremely experienced technicians on reading spark waveforms and stuff. They're quite technical, and there's some diagrams on Google that you can download as well that give you the basic, what each part or each section of the capture relates to in the spark cycle, the ignition cycle. Very, very cool. But unfortunately, the vast majority of garages, be it motorcycle shops or car garages, when you mention to them about an oscilloscope here in New Zealand, their eyes just glaze over. They have no idea what you're talking about, and it's such a shame. For years, I worked really hard to try and encourage shops to adopt the use of a scope and to have training on how to use it, even the basic training. A handful did, but in my opinion, nowhere near enough. They need to future-proof their workshop. Vehicles are getting a lot more complicated these days. We've got CAN on motorcycles now, CAN high and CAN low communication system. And quite often, they can get a fault in there, which they end up just doing, fire the parts cannon to try and solve the problem without really identifying what the fault is, going through a proper diagnosis. And yeah, it sort of infuriates me, really. It does. So well said, Sheldon. It's a point that needed to be raised, and you're absolutely right. And will it change? Probably not. Simon, go along the H-Tilly with a test light to earth. That works for finding a bad lead or a plug cap. That's right, because it's going to jump to that ground, basically, isn't it, that you're introducing with the test light. Good idea, Simon. There really is some very simple checks that you can do, some little tricks of the trade, which really help to make a diagnosis pretty quick. On that particular bike that I was working on, I thought I'd found it. I thought I'd found the problem. It had coilovers on it, from memory, or did it? No. Don't think it did. But it had really long, deep plug caps, and one of the plug caps was cracked. How it got cracked, I have no idea, but there was definitely a crack then. I thought, I found it. So I swapped the plug caps from one cylinder to the other. I'd worked out which cylinder was going out, had the problem, and the problem didn't move cylinders. The minute I swapped the spark plugs around, it did. Put a new spark plug in it, fixed. And it was, I checked up on the bike about a month later, no problems at all, running perfectly. So yeah, just a faulty spark plug in that case, and you can get them. And there are NGK plugs, which I totally support. I think they're a great spark plug. But you know, like with anything, you get the odd duff, and it had been working for the first 1,000 kilometers. You know, just coincidentally failed just after the service, and the tech hadn't been anywhere near the spark plugs. It's bizarre, isn't it? Ooh. On a side note, there's a lot of fake NGK plugs going around. Wow, I didn't know that. I would suspect that the one that failed was a genuine because it was a factory fit plug. So they'll be making damn sure they buy the proper stuff. But yeah, just bizarre, odd, pretty cool find in the end. Very happy that I'd fixed it. Obviously, I told the customer he needed a new plug cap as well. I didn't have one. He'd have to order one of those in. But yeah, solved the problem, which was nice. Right. I think, crew, I need to be prudent. I've got a lot to get done before I leave. We are done. Unless you've got any last minute questions, I'll have another slurp of coffee. Cold coffee, by the way. Okay. Thank you very much for joining. It's been a great morning. It's really sort of given me a little bit of time to detract from workshop work and get ready for a trip. I'm going to miss my little workshop. I really am. I know I've got work to get done. I could be doing it today. I can't do it today. I've got to go somewhere else and do work-related stuff. It's one of those things. Sometimes you just got to, go that extra mile to get the job done. I'll see you all again in a couple of weeks, unless we decide to do a live stream with Ben next Sunday. If we do, I'll do a Facebook post on Andy Mechanic. And I'll probably put a post on the YouTube as well, just to keep you updated. But I don't think we will. I think Ben will want to be cracking on with the roof. He'd be very eager to help me. I also think he's going to be quite surprised how much we managed to get done before I got here, which is pretty cool. Because last time we did the house port, well, there was a lot of work, but he was down for a whole week, so we got it. We did smash it out pretty quick. Anyway, crew, thank you again for joining. Hopefully you enjoyed the live stream. If you have, give us a thumbs up. And why not share it on your social media? Let's try and get a few more viewers to join us on these live streams. Okay, crew, take care. I'll see you next time. Cheers. Over and out. Oh, it's on this side now. It's moved. God damn it. Yes, I do.